Hi guys, welcome to Fasihi Lounge Kenya.
I'm Bihenda.
And I'm Sheila. Coming up next, I really loathe that character Caleb. Like, I think that's the worst character on that book. It was just, I hated that chapter. If I were to choose not to read that chapter, I would. Yeah.
And today we want to discuss the novel A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara.
This episode discusses A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, a novel that contains and portrays themes of childhood abuse, sexual assault, self-harm, suicide, chronic illness, and trauma in graphic detail. Listener discretion is strongly advised, especially if you're sensitive to discussions of psychological and physical abuse and mental health struggles. Please take care while listening and prioritize your well-being. If at any point the content feels overwhelming, it's okay to pause or skip this episode. Thank you and welcome.
This novel follows the life of 4 friends, Jude, Willem, JB, and Malcolm, over several decades, focusing on Jude's experiences with trauma and his struggles to build healthy relationships. The novel further explores the themes of friendship, the impact of trauma, the complexities of love, and the search for meaning in life.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So first things first. What did you think about the length of the book?
For me, honestly, the length of the book was not interesting to me. I've never been a fan of books that are past 300 pages. And this one happens to be 720 pages. So almost going upwards to 1,000 pages. And that usually when I see a book this size, I get discouraged. I feel like I will never finish reading it. And true to form, I was not able to finish reading it. However, that will not dissuade me from discussing it. I'll be able to discuss a few areas that I read through.
I think for me, the book is, honestly, this is, I think, one of the longest books I've ever read, personally. And I think for me as well, I really struggled to finish the book. I had to take, I think, a whole 2 days off my schedule to just finish the book. But also the thing is, by the time I was getting towards the end of the book, it was a bit easier to finish because the book was I was really engrossed in the reading. I think the themes were a bit, at that point, I really wanted to see what happens next in the book, and so I was able to finish. But would I want to read another long book? Particularly not.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what we thought about the title of the book, A Little Life.
I think for me personally, I really hate the title of the book, not because it's not a good title, but because the title is very apt in what the book talks about, which is, I think when we get into about the themes and what happens in the book, it's a true portrayal of what happens in the book. It's just a little life. There was not a lot of living. It was just living a little. I don't know how to put it, but it was not living fully and in all the aspects of life, like being happy, being sad, and whatever. It was a lot of a single-tracked way of living, which I think we see in one of the major themes of the book, which is like a lot of trauma. So the book is just, it's a little life. The main,
protagonist?
Is it protagonist?
Yes.
Jude, the main character.
Yes.
I think the title really describes how his life was. Yeah, so, and it's the kind of life you wouldn't wish on anyone, really, not even your enemy.
What is interesting is that actually when I first saw this book and I looked at the title, I was imagining it's actually the opposite of what you're saying. It sounded like it was going to portray like a cozy life, and just having a comfortable and peaceful life. Just the way that sounds like a little life. Yeah, and it's so interesting to find out that it's actually the complete opposite.
Yeah. And the thing is, the book has internationally, globally, it has 2 different covers as well. So the copy that we have is the Kenyan version, which is also, I think, what is the UK version of the cover.
Right.
For me, I imagine the cover to be like a nod to the first chapter, which is Lispenard Street, the first place in which we get to experience these characters. So it's more like the point at which this young adult life is sprouting and forming and weaving together. But when you look at the American version of the cover, it's really sad, which I guess it gives away what you should.
Yeah. Okay.
So when they say like do not judge a book by its cover, I feel like in this case you actually get to judge the book by its cover.
Yeah.
So I don't know if authors have.
Is this Jude?
Yeah.
Portrayed?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Jude portrayed.
Yeah.
And it's very, I think it's very sad and looks very
in pain. He actually
in
looks
pain,
like
yes.
he's in pain.
Mm-hmm. And then
just
also
the expression on the face.
Yeah, the expression on the face is really telling of what you should expect in the book as compared to the version that we have. So for different readers, they would experience different. They would first,
depending on the version,
depending on the
hardcover version that they have.
Yeah, and then also, I think the book has been reenacted in many plays, in America and UK, if I'm not wrong. And the plays, I think, are really, really intense, emotional, and everything else. So for someone who's watched the show, I don't know if they would want to read the book, and vice versa. For me, who's read the book, I don't think I would want to see the reenactment of that on any stage, really.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so now that you mentioned themes, we can move on to the analysis of the themes. First and foremost, beginning with the first theme, which is trauma and its impact. And we see that in this novel, the author delves deeply into the impact of childhood trauma on Jude and showcases how it shapes his relationships and his ability to experience joy and happiness. The next theme is friendship and connection. And we see that the relationships between Jude and his friends are central to the story. And they explore the complexities of friendship, including loyalty, betrayal, and the challenges of supporting someone with profound trauma. The next theme is love and vulnerability. So A Little Life, in quotes, examines the different forms of love, including romantic love, familial love, and the love that can be found in friendship. And lastly, we have the search for meaning, where we reflect on the search for meaning of life, and particularly for those who have endured immense suffering. So as you can see, all the themes that have been mentioned are mainly centered on suffering. There's a lot of suffering that has been mentioned, and then some parts of love and friendship, which is exactly how the author has chosen to portray.
Yeah, and then also there's a lot of mention of things to do with disability and chronic pain. So we get to see how this trauma is embodied in the life of Jude through disability. So if you read the book, you get to see how painful it was for him to live with the disability he had. And also a few mentions of art, success, and identity. For the different characters, they identified separately. So when we are introduced to the book, we're introduced to them as people who are still in, I think, university. That's the equivalent of Kenya. Yeah. So in university, there's a lot of friendships that form because you're either within the same circles or whatnot. But we get to see that these friends evolve from that university setting. They get to branch out to different fields of practice. So there's an artist. We get to see an artist, an architect. Yeah, I know you're very, very happy about an architect as a character there. Yeah. So we have Jude, who's the lawyer, and then we also have Willem, who's an actor, and then we also have JB, who's an artist, and then Malcolm, who's an architect. And I think another character who kind of becomes among the major characters is Harold, who later on gets to adopt Jude, and he gets adopted at around 30 years old. So all this is mainly the lives of these people, and they're able to they start with the themes that we have, and these themes carry on, but we also get introduced to other themes now later on in their lives.
Yeah, true. So, of the 4 friends, who do you think is or was the worst friend, and who do you have the most empathy for?
I think between the 4 friends, I think the most empathy for would be Jude, definitely, because he was really dealt a bad hand from his childhood. We get to see a lot of the trauma that stems from his childhood. Given that we get to see that he was an orphan, and he was raised by a group of brothers in a Catholic, is it monastery? Yeah, something like that, seminary or something. But there was also other children, and a lot of the suffering stems from that. So a lot of empathy, because he was just a child. He had no control whatsoever of what was going to happen to him as a child, because it's his life is basically cemented by what happens to him as a child. Later on, there's only minimal suffering to him, but the mental anguish and whatever stems from his childhood. So I think the empathy for sure, Jude. And also Harold to some extent, because Harold gets to lose his son eventually. So to some extent, yeah, but the most the person who deserves a lot of empathy is Jude, who's the main character. Yeah. And then also the worst friend, I think I think to some extent, as I went through the book, the first worst friend I really, really disliked was JB. He was very flamboyant and very, I think, often selfish, because he came from a family that was closely knit. So was it both parents? No, he had his mother. He did not have a dad, but his mother and his aunties were really there for him as a child. So despite this, he was very flamboyant and selfish to his friends, because he would actually throw jabs at them in just normal conversations. And then also the fact that he sometimes would be very cruel in these jabs. So yeah, but eventually we get to see the evolution of him, because the reason why he was very selfish and very outspoken and very harsh sometimes to his friends was because he was also struggling with issues of identity and drug use, etc. So I think those two for sure.
That's interesting. Yes, I agree with you about the character you have the most empathy for. Of course, in terms of all the characters, if you analyze them, it would be Jude. A lot of the reasons are because centered on his background and his trauma, given that he was abandoned as an infant and raised in a monastery. And he suffered horrific physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of the monks. I mean, this is a very delicate subject. Actually, even hard to be discussed, because I mean, we've had this time and again, and it's not something that should be just glossed over. It happens more than we think. And of course, it has a long-lasting effect on those who suffer the abuse.
I think maybe that's also what informed the mystery that Jude wanted to really conceal about his life.
So we find out he was also exploited by brother Luke, who manipulated him into sex work under the guise of care, as well as when he was a teenager, he was abducted and assaulted by Dr. Trailer, who ultimately ran him over with his car, causing permanent damage to his legs. I mean, this guy really suffered.
Yeah, this guy really suffered.
So and then lastly, he lives with chronic pain, self-hatred, and an inability to trust others fully. So this character really had a lot of suffering.
He really did suffer
throughout this book, and definitely it's hard to really pick another character to have empathy for. It's definitely him.
So perhaps now this it just goes to show how issues in society such as this should actually be handled with the seriousness that it deserves, considering that Jude, first of all, this is a man, and majority of the time abuse is gender-based abuse is towards women. And when, for instance, in the Kenyan setting, when a man says they were abused, sexually abused or otherwise, they are faced with a lot of skepticism. I think the second person, maybe notable mention, would be Willem. Because we get to see actually like the person who really, really loved Jude wholeheartedly was Willem. And I feel like through Jude's suffering, he also suffered to some extent. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Just a summary on the protagonist, I think we have agreed is Jude. A young man who suffered imaginable abuse and trauma.
Yeah.
And moves to New York City with his friends, William, J.B., Malcolm, and hoping to build a life for himself. Then we have The Journey, the title The Journey, which shows that as years pass, I mean, this is definitely Jude's journey, and by extension, the friends he moved to New York with. Jude and his friends navigate various challenges, which include addiction, artistic ambitions, romantic relationships, and the enduring scars of trauma. And then under the impact of trauma, we see that Jude's past continues to haunt him, and he struggles to form healthy relationships and to find happiness. Yeah. And then I don't want to speak on the ending until we finish. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah. So I think through these themes, we get to see the author introduce us to different themes specifically. I think it's a smart way of doing it, but the main sections or distinct sections of the book, we have the Lispenard Street, where it's the origin of the story, basically where these people meet, how they start the friendship, etc. Then we have the Postman, which has it focuses on Jude's mystery and how he is as a person. And then we also have the Vanities, where we have now different characters being explored. So this one gives more detail on JB and explores his perspective. We also get to see a lot of ego, identity, artistic ambitions, etc. Then now we have the fourth one, which is the axiom of equality. It goes back to Jude and Willem, which now this is where now it starts getting really, really emotional. It gets into like the physicality of their bond, etc. So we have a lot of themes of love, struggle, etc. Then we have the happy years. This is more like I feel like the book should have ended there. Because it focuses on now how things were calm and smooth. Like all the four characters were successful in their different ways, and they were happy in their different ways with their lives and whatnot. So we see a lot of hope. But now, as a reader, the moment you finish this chapter, now you go to a sad. It's more like you're going back to sadness, which is now Dear Comrade, which is told through the adoptive father's view, which is Harold's. He offers like an outsider's perspective because he's not in the friend group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he's gotten to experience these friends in different capacities, and then now, it shows a lot of like love, parental affection. So it's more like it's a sad chapter really, because at this point, I think the main protagonist, the worst has happened to the main protagonist really. Right. Then now we go back to the last chapter, which now it goes back to where it started.
The first chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like a symbolism. It's more like symbolic, which is returning to the previous, to the start. It's like a full circle moment, really. Yeah. But those chapters. Because for me, these sections, the sections that I really, really hated was the axiom of section 4, axiom of inequality. This is where after Jude has lived his life as an adult without trauma, without the a lot of these things. We get to this chapter reintroduces abuse, sexual abuse again. To his life as an adult. So this really think there's a character named Caleb, which goes to show how even as a grown-up, you're really never sure about the people you meet. So I think for this chapter specifically, it showed how people who've had or endured abuse before and they've healed can still be able to face this abuse simply because other people would target them.
Yes.
Just because they look like they could be. I really loathe that character, Caleb. Like, I think that's the worst character on that book. So I think for our listeners, if you want to know, you can go read that chapter. But this is something, it was really gruesome. I think I was not able to finish that chapter in a day or two.
How did that happen incidentally? Because I didn't reach that chapter. But I'm wondering, by the time we're on this chapter, how old is Jude? And how is he again?
I think he's in his 40s or something. So what happens is he meets someone in a party.
Yeah.
This person
drags him or something.
He doesn't drag him, but he talks. They talk. They get to speaking in that to talking within that setting. Then they exchange their contacts, etc. Then when they meet later on, at this stage, it's when Jude was actually struggling with a lot of the physical abuse had gotten to him physically now, because now he had to use wheelchairs and whatnot. Wheelchairs occasionally, not all through. And I think this character, Caleb, the first time he sees him with a wheelchair, tells him, I hope you're not going to use that forever, because his parents or his mother used a wheelchair. So for that specific scenario, it feels like because Caleb really hated how his mother died. His mother died a helpless person. And he really hated what that did to him and his life and whatever. So I think he was really projecting his feelings towards Jude. And because of that, it gets to a time where he sees Jude with a wheelchair and he hits him and he throws him on the staircase. And it's really bad. I wouldn't wish, I think for me, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So there's a lot of it was just, I hated that chapter. If I were to choose not to read that chapter, I would.
What I was going to say is, I hope this is not based on a true story. I hope this
is
exactly.
I also hope so.
Because just reading about all the trauma that Jude went through, I'm like, okay, I know there are people who go through one or two select traumas that are mentioned, but him, it seems to have gone through everything.
It seems like it's like there was nothing else they could throw at him and that he would not have handled.
So I'm wondering, I think it's a fictional book. I don't think it's based on a real story.
I think just because of this also, I've seen a lot of it's a question I have, like what and how was the author feeling when she was writing this book?
Yes.
Did she have to go to therapy? Because essentially it shows how dark does someone's mind have to be able to write this and edit. Because I'm thinking again, writing a book is not a one-off thing where you just write and publish. You also have to write, rewrite, reread, send it to people, then let them send comments, remarks, whatever. I really wonder how she deals with this.
And also, there are some authors who, when they write, they also draw from experiences they've had. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, when an author writes something so dark, what are the experiences that they have lived in their life, which has resulted in them being able to write something as...
I think this also points to, questions which other readers online have expressed, is the fact that there's almost a similar theme that carries through all her books. So there's also the fact that is she capitalizing on the trauma trope?
Okay.
That's what a lot of people are asking, and now that makes me not want to. that makes me not want to read any of her books, because I feel like the trauma is just, this was enough for me. Yeah, I wouldn't, I have read sad books before. I've read Kaledosini's books. I think I've read 2 of them. They were really sad, but this takes the cake. So I don't know. There's just something about the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
based off on the fact that you did not finish the book, Behenda, do you feel like the start of the book was slower or faster, or is it just
to me,
the length?
Was slow. It was very slow.
It was very
but
slow.
Then I've come to realize that this the summary of this book, actually, that I just read when I was beginning, says that these stories are told over several decades.
Yeah, they are.
Which actually makes a lot of sense as to why the book is as big as it is. But for me, if you're asking about the beginning, I didn't find that the beginning caught
your attention.
My attention in a way that made me want to find out more. Yeah, I was kind of like not really impressed. I guess it's a good story, but the beginning for me was not it. Yeah, it was very slow, not even a bit slow. It was very slow.
I would agree, because it took me quite a while to actually get over the first chapter. I think that's it. I don't think we can say more about the book.
Let's conclude the ending. There's this small part I said I would
definitely.
The ending, which where we see that Jude eventually accepts and commits suicide.
Yeah.
That's also a very sensitive thing.
It is a very sensitive.
Yeah, that's why you've seen me a bit taking my time to say that he actually dies by suicide at the age of 53.
Yeah.
And according to the author, this reinforces that some wounds are too deep to heal. No matter how, there are some wounds that we may get in life through our life experiences, which we are able to heal. But then there are some which are just too deep and we are not able to heal them. And in Jude's case, I guess this was what it is.
Do you think by that fact, not even a fact, by that assumption, I don't know if it's an assumption or it's not a fact, do you think this book reaffirmed, do you think people who are struggling with their lives at the moment, do you think this book would take them over, tip them over the edge? Because
it just depends.
It just depends
on what they're struggling with.
Because this almost makes it seem like for someone who's encountered abuse before, then they shouldn't read the book.
Yeah,
if the author believes that,
it depends. Because abuse is also different. They're different form of, and then the nini of the abuse, the
nature,
what is
severity.
Yes, the severity of the abuse is what nini, and also it's an individual experience. I don't think, because there is someone else who can go through the exact same type of abuse
still live
and be not be okay, but still find like hope in life and not result into suicide. Just, it's an individual thing. To me, I think it's just an individual thing. It just depends on how you're able to navigate through life, and then the sources of nini help that you look for throughout your life, and also your support system. Like for Jude, you also learn that some of his friends died in a car accident.
Actually,
so that could also have really affected him. Like he lost.
That's actually the reason. The reason he commits suicide is because William dies by accident, and because
Malcolm, William, and Sophie.
Yeah.
So that's also a trigger. Yeah, actually the correct word is trigger. Yeah. So you'll find someone else who has gone through the same abuse in reality, but doesn't have as many triggers, might be able to live life okay. I
think I'd really like to listen or hear what a therapist would think about the book. I think that's really something I would be interested in. Getting to know how a therapist thinks about this.
So Jude's character is described as one of the most emotionally complex character in contemporary literature.
Interesting.
And his journey is described as a heartbreaking journey, but it also highlights the power of love, friendship, and resilience, even when healing feels impossible.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, I think the book is just a book about friends and how they support each other in life and family.
How important and how important system is.
Yeah, it's very crucial. Yeah. So I think the author really did well as an author who was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. Having said that, would you recommend the book to anyone?
To me, not really. Yeah. Just, I mean, that's the short answer. Not really. Yeah.
I think I would say the writing was impeccable. The story was really complex. The writing was good, etc. However, I would not recommend this book to anyone because for me, going through life after reading this book, I really think of my friendships and how different friendships affect me as a person and how perhaps I also am to my other friends. I'd say I don't know. I don't know whether to say no or yes. I'm just in between because I chose to read the book just because of what I saw online on specifically a lot of readers on TikTok and who really I think they were bawling, they were crying, they were everything in between, and I was curious. It's curiosity that got me here. Right. However, I would not recommend this book to people because it's a sad book. I wouldn't want someone going through life knowing all the sad things that happened.
Unless you
either fiction or not.
Unless somebody wants to read a sad book,
yes,
by all means, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely that. All in all, I think it was a good book to read. As a second book for our podcast this year. So
yes. So our next read is The House of Doors, which is a 2023 historical novel by Tan Tuang Eng, which was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize of Fiction.